Hey everybody, we are live again for Surviving Quarantine by Spreading Life. Welcome back. I am so excited today to have Darrin with us. He is somebody I met at a conference, but now has turned into a great friend and somebody I lean into whenever I just need inspiration or just need to chit chat. So I'm so excited that he is here today to talk with us. So just before we get started, remember, like, share, and comment during this time. If you have any questions for Darrin during this, don't forget, just put it in the comment and we will throw it up and answer it. So let's get started. Start by introducing yourself, Darrin. Tell us about you.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for, first of all, having me on here. I thought it was a great opportunity and a privilege to share, some of the knowledge that I've learned over my 10-year career in different industries. So my name is Darrin Exsted. I work as a learning and leadership development specialist at Columbia Sportswear Co. I've been with Columbia now for a little over 4 years. And prior to this, I was actually in healthcare, which really gave the connection for Emily and I when we did meet at that conference a few years back. So now being in the role that I am in today, coming from the healthcare, I was able to learn a lot about what does my career look like in the awareness piece, going from that giving and that service area, and how do I translate that to different careers throughout my life. And I think it's a great item to talk about because awareness is key to your ambition. And I can't wait to share some of those tips and knowledge that we have going on today.
Awesome. And I'm so excited because that's one thing for me that I really keyed down real quickly is you have such self-awareness that seems to be a rarity, especially not to call out males, but in males, it's like kind of this pride thing, but you're just what I call it's humble, open, and transparent. Like you are hot with your emotions and your feelings and knowing like yourself. So let's get started with that because we're calling this calming the noise through self-awareness. So what are some of your key tips for self-awareness?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own style, their own background that they can apply on a daily basis and whatever that is. In the past few years, with a lot of medical issues that I've had going on for myself, I've had to take time to address those. And to really ground myself, I started with just basic breathing exercises. And there was an app I can remember called the Breathing app. And it just produces a noise to breathe in and breathe out. And as I started really gaining the grounding feeling and anchoring to something, I was able to tie more in with meditation and then yoga. And then how does my breathing flow during my workouts, especially if they're intense? And what am I using then in different ways to calm the mind? So is that also reading? Is that journaling? And now that's a big list of different items to use. But I figured out a way to say, okay, what does today look like for me? How am I going to be intentional to focus on myself so that I can show up better for others? And, I wouldn't journal every day. I wouldn't even do the breathing activities every day, but I knew I had something to come back to. And I think just starting simple and small is some of the easiest knowledge I was able to gain because you're not going to get it right on the first try. Especially meditation, right? You're always supposed to clear your thoughts and let them go through and let them pass. Thoughts come up constantly because we're humans, we're not robots. So we have to acknowledge them and let them flow through, but just know that they're going to be there. And you can start over, right? You can start over clearing the thought, focusing on the breath. It's just giving yourself the grace to allow yourself that time and space to really work through it.
Yes. And that's something too that a lot of people think with meditation that you have to be like this certain pose, this certain phase, and like all these different things. But for me, meditation is my prayer time. For me, it's just finding a calming place and concentrating my thoughts on the thing. So with meditation, because I think that's one of the most powerful things that you can do. What are some ways that people or tips to, I guess, slowing the brain down to be able to kind of cut off some of those thoughts? Calming the noise.
Yeah. Calming all that noise. And I loved, first of all, how you put that you use prayer, right? Everyone's got a sort of religion or connection to something, and that can look different. And so while I may not, focus more on the prayer aspect, I focus on the meditation really honing inside in that introspection, so I can be there for others. And in prayer too, right? You're thinking of others in the moment, and you're hoping for the best of them. So I want to thank you for calling that out, because it looks different for everyone. So you may not think is the best at meditating, but what works for you the best is what you should go with. I'm sorry. Now, can you repeat that question after I went a different route?
No, you're fine. No, how do people kind of cut their thoughts off, like, and try to like calm the noise in this space? Because
Yeah.
it's, you have all this inundation of information coming on. You also have your fears coming at you, and you still have your work. While like today, I have my kids, and I'm trying not to yell at them, and I just want to just be in this state where, whoo, so because I know I need that for creativity, to be on point, to be able to give back to others the way I can. So how can we get and calm that noise in our head, in our thoughts, in our process?
Yeah. I think first of all is just acknowledging that it's there. You're going to acknowledge all these different emotions, different feelings. If you recognize them and give yourself a moment to pause, take a breath, anchor back to that breathing, right? That's something we do daily. And if you're doing it over, a couple 100,000 times a week, you should be able to say that this is a regular habit, and I'm going to go to that whenever I have a moment of uncertainty, or I'm going to freak out at my children, or I'm going to lose my cool. Tie back to something, and whatever that may look like, it'll give you a sense of grounding so that you can respond instead of reacting. And our amygdala is hijacked on a regular basis because it's our survival mode, right? We're trying to go through that fight or flight and how to respond so it doesn't get the best of us. And through meditation, through breathing, you can pause to give yourself enough time to respond appropriately. And all of our lives look different right now. You have kids, you have a family that you're, blending this personal life in as well as this professional life, and they're molded together now. What does that look like? Because you have to manage that differently. Whereas me, I'm a single male. I live in Portland, Oregon on my own. I have no children. I have no family in that sense where I have something else to worry about. But then here come last week, I'll share a good story where last week I was going through the ebbs and flows of having moments of uncertainty because my landlord is looking to put the house on the market. And then all of a sudden I had a birthday on Saturday. So, okay, I'm going through uncertainty and I have my birthday. Then my job is changing to a degree. So I have to consume all this new information. And then I found out, other friends are losing their jobs in the service industry, and it just all flooded at once, right? Your personal and your professional life. And I lost a lot of sleep on Sunday, and I had to give myself the grace on Monday to address those emotions because there was so much. Do I feel happy? Should I feel happy because, it was my birthday and I'm going to be on this live stream with Emily this next week, but yet all these other bad things are happening. I shouldn't feel this good. And I think that's where we can collect all that noise, and then it amplifies within us and we're not able to respond. And so if you can set time aside to acknowledge and make those justifiable, you can appreciate each moment and each feeling for what it is. It's just setting that space aside for yourself.
I love that. And that's something I love talking to you every time, because this is what happens. You inspire me too. Because I know with my kids, I was taught a while ago that with kids, you're supposed to help them name emotions because they don't know how to feel it. But the more I work with adults, I also know that adults don't need to name their emotions because they don't know what they feel like exactly at times. And I think that's the point too that I hear out of this, is that naming your emotions so you know how to react to it, and giving yourself grace in that space, that it's okay to feel the way you feel.
It is. It's name it to tame it, really, right? If you can call it out in the moment, even better. It took me a few days to even call any of those out, and I live in this space. It's really just grounding yourself to have compassion and be aware that it's happening. It's not going to go away because we're humans again. I love to use that. We're not robots. It's with anything. We're meant to feel things.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go on that compassion part, because what I see a lot and what I talk about is that we need to have self-compassion instead of self-comparison. And so a lot of times it seems that self-compassion is that we are all collectively contributing back to the greater good. comparative to self-comparison is I'm comparing myself to somebody else. So in this space, how can we give self-compassion to one another, but also ourselves?
Yeah, I've heard this saying, and it was thankfully a mentor brought this to my attention a few years back. Jealousy is the thief of joy. So
Mm-hmm.
I was constantly comparing myself to others around me, new peers that were coming in my role, even to friends at times, depending on what state of mind I was in. And it just took away from every moment of every good thing that I was doing. So if you can really step back and have that take that inner critic out and have that self-compassion for yourself, you're able to give more compassion to others. And with emotional intelligence and awareness, you notice that when you clear the noise, you're able to give back so much more. And whether that's in your relationships, whether that's in more maybe of your social responsibility and giving back to your community and your work, you can take all of that and without letting it manifest to another level, to really give yourself the gratitude and thank yourself every day for the little things and appreciate those little things that you accomplished to fulfill you in this, mode of monotonous routine that it may look like right now, by getting up, getting the kids ready, getting my work going. When do I take breaks, right? How do you appreciate those moments that you can step away from your work, ground yourself that you're enjoying that moment with your children, or you're enjoying that walk outside without headphones, without earbuds, so you can appreciate the little things, and that in tune will guide yourself to have that awareness.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And that makes me think too that I know that we've talked a few times about the giving back and how in this moment in space, a lot of us are self-isolated, and how we had our conversation about wondering how it's actually going to impact us later on because of the isolation. But in this moment, how can we have that giving back, these being socially aware of other people's needs, and how can we contribute?
Well, we live in a world with the means of technology right now. We can reach people across the globe, and however that looks, I've caught myself being on the screen a lot lately, whether because of the work, right? We're having to meet now virtually, but also connecting with a lot of family and friends who are also in the same experience as you. We're all living the same day-to-day life right now, being maybe locked up in a home where we feel trapped, but yet there's ways to communicate and connect. So from that point of view, I would say really leverage the tools that are out there in terms of having those video conversations, so you can still get that personal aspect and that connection with your friends and family, and reach out to those that may be more isolated than you understand. And the reason being is they may not feel comfortable having conversations like we do, but there are other means. And I like to go back to words with friends. I know back in the day, I used to play that a lot, and a lot of people still play that. You don't have to have a conversation with that person, but you're still interacting with them. You're still connecting and creating a bonding experience. So whether you go with an app that's a game version or a card game that you can connect with those in different generations, or as of recently, I found this app called House Party, which allows you to play games within the video conversation. And what I found in the past week of downloading that is that it brought back so much laughter, because we were maybe to a degree distracting ourselves, but while we were still connecting, we were bringing some kind of joy back into our lives by playing Pictionary or charades. I had my camera set up to the side and I was actually up and at it in my room. I just couldn't believe how happy that made me, in the sense of I'm still connecting with people. I just don't, it just looks a little different right now.
Yes.
So in the social, it's called House Party app. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, get everyone on that, get your family and friends in place, have some games, get some time together, however that looks when you're at a distance. In regards to the social responsibility, more so away from interpersonal relationships, what does giving back look like to you? Now, is that through volunteer work with your community? Is that through missions? I mean, depending on a societal or a community or even an individual level, by giving donations. What does that look like for you? Because we all have our own means, and in this time, in this crisis, what we need to do is come together and build a collectivism and have that community feel. Doing knowledge sharing, such as having a live stream like this, we're sharing all of the best knowledge that we can bring to help everyone else who are going through challenging or difficult times more than what we're seeing. Or we're able to actually physically give back by making masks, by staying socially distanced and stay in quarantine. So what does that look like for you? Because I've also come to learn over time that change becomes a benefactor to you. And what I mean by that is when you see change happening in someone else that you may have influenced, I like to give an example of an intern that I've had a couple of years ago, and hearing his stories when he came back to me to tell me all the things he was doing because of our conversations inspired me even more to be like, wow, I want to feel like him. I want to know what that feels like again, because it makes me feel good seeing him succeed. When I see him succeed, I want to succeed. And how do I do that? And who's my network to help me succeed? So really finding your community or your collectivism. And then how do you play a role in today's society?
I love that. And two things I hear really. One, I really want to talk about is joy and bringing laughter back. And then I also hear about it's that energy. It's like giving and borrow energy, and making sure that we have the right people to fill our cups up and seeing, especially in this change process. So we'll start with joy. How important is it to have joy and laughter and fun in this moment and in this time?
Oh man, if you forgot how that feels, go find it. Reach out to someone that made you feel good before, because it's another level that you're so focused on the distractions right now, all the social media, all of the series on TVs, or the ways that you just remove yourself from what's going on, but it's still there. It's still noise. And once you can have that awareness to be like, okay, that TV is just too loud right now. I don't need that in my life. That negativeness that's coming from social media, I don't need that either. But when you're pummeled by it, and then you find that you don't need to be pummeled by all of this negativity every day, it inspires you to want to do more, especially in a quarantine home. You find the laughter, like, wow, that was great. I can't wait to meet with them again and share what I'm doing now. So while you have that joy piece, it's also bringing you a little bit of hope, which I'm hoping we could talk about here a little more, because hope gives you something to look forward to. And while this may be a period of time where we don't know how long this is going to last, what are you going to do at that time? How are you going to build happiness in others, or bring joy to others, and also inspire yourself to have joy? Because when we go back to what people are calling, we're going to go back to the new normal, it's really going to be different. There's not going to be a new normal anymore. So are you building yourself up now to give yourself joy every day, to look forward to something and giving that hope and inspiring it? Or are you just kind of going through the motions and letting the distractions hit you from every angle?
Yes. And I think that's a part of that too, is like what we were talking, the second part was about filling your cup and having people to fill your cup. That's the thing, is that your cup, you can do it. You can do some things to fill your own cup. And that is of the hope, the joy, finding the love in the moment, and finding the grace in it all. So let's go into that real quick. And also, before we go, if anybody has any comments, don't forget to put them below. We would love to hear from you. So let's continue the conversation about hope and filling, and just let's get into that one.
Yeah, I was just reading recently the Amanda Duckworth Grit, right? Building that passion for perseverance. And this it ties into finding the best in the worst scenarios. What are you looking for? How are you being optimistic about what we're going through, even if you're dealing with all sorts of uncertainty? I'm looking right now to move to a new home. My family had called me over the weekend to tell me that 2 members of my family have the flu. They're not sure if it's the COVID-19 virus, so they're getting tests for that. So while I have all this going on, I still need to build myself up to feel the joy that still is happening in this world with all the positivity that's going on. I just need to look at it from a different lens, and I need to set intentions for myself daily, whether that's waking up and starting the morning, even though I'm not a morning person, starting it off with maybe some meditation or reading. How does that help me then the rest of the day? Well, it's going to bring a lot of change. It's a new habit that you're building. And so if you can really invest in that now, every day is going to be easier. And you can look forward to the little things of maybe buying yourself a new adult coloring book, or starting a new workout challenge that I've even tried last week. And I was doing push-ups to this music, and here yesterday or the day before, I was able to do 150 push-ups. I was like, whoa, okay. If I get to look forward to that every day in the next coming weeks, like where am I going to be in 3 or 4 weeks from now? And it was interesting because I was facilitating a leadership group the other day, and one of them had brought to mind say, well, when I get back to work in 30 days from now, if that's where we're going to be, why would I start something now if I know I'm going to go back to the normal? But it's kind of that there's that mindset, or like, are you sitting with more of that fixed mindset or growth mindset to say, I want to better myself in something and I want to incorporate that into my new, different, normal life, instead of saying that I have to completely stop it when that time comes because I need to go back to the regular thing. We're not going back to the regular thing. So how do you build hope in yourself or in the things that you're doing to look forward to tomorrow? What is that little thing that you're rewarding yourself with right now?
Yes. And I have Ashley that has put up here. She says that yes, looking for the good, I feel. And I believe that's extremely important. And she goes like, your program to look for the negative. And so that is our natural, I call it. We talk about Amy. I call her Amy, your amygdala. I call her Amy for short. And I say that control you. And so that we have to be sure that we can make sure that we own her so she doesn't own us. And she really naturally wants to go because there's a fight, flight, or freeze. And she really wants to make we stay in one of those states so that we can't think so that she can own us. And she put, yes, start, focus, change perspective, 30 days is enough. A lot. And I love, okay, so the other day I was talking with somebody, and one of the things that she was saying was that if we look at our life as like a timeline, it was tangible, it was on Wednesday. And she said, if we look at our life as a timeline, we all get everybody gets 24 hours each day. And so what we do with it, and she's like, just think of it this way, you're at zero, so you're at neutral, and you have a choice to do something that will give towards your legacy, give towards your destiny. And what she was explaining was that destiny is only just simply the word going your path forward, taking your path forward. So go towards your legacy, your destiny, or is it going to kind of like draw away from you? So it's like your social network. Who are you around? Are they giving? Are they taking? Like, how are they adding to your years? And that's the thing that she was saying, is that this is a rare moment that a lot of us are getting to pause. And so we may be pausing in some form of frustration, and we can acknowledge that. And like I talked yesterday, that yesterday was a bad day for me, and it's okay. Yeah. And what I was saying then is that it's like a car, as long as the fear doesn't drive the car, they're allowed in, but we want to kick them out because they're just wasting the gas money as long as they're in there with us. So what are some things that people can do they understand that fear, it's okay to have fear, name your emotions, you're allowed to feel certain ways, but the way that we can add to our legacy or add the more to our life and take advantage of this pause?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's so funny. The other day I actually wrote down in my notebook, what is the legacy I'm going to leave? And the only reason I thought about that is because right now, not having children or having a spouse who's going to carry my legacy on, that kind of gave me a little fear to be like, oh my gosh, I might just disappear one day and never feel like I've truly left my footprint here on this earth. And so I really had to hone in to be like, well, you're doing all these different things. You just have to call them out for what they are. And so, I write I journal a lot, and whether it's writing or journaling and reflecting, these are all my thoughts. And this is something that maybe someday someone's going to look at and be like, wow, this person is so unique and has many different perspectives of them. Or what books am I reading so that I'm getting different perspectives of other people that I normally don't relate with? And I'm trying to, while absorbing, can be overwhelming at times. It's really being intention that you want to be ambitious now to set yourself up later, because we don't know what the future holds. And if you've gone through some traumatic experience, it's easier for you to say, I'm going to take hold of this and take reins of it. Whereas if someone hasn't really been put through a challenging moment in their life where they really had to fight out of it and get above ground again, it might be a little easier for them to sit back and be, more in that comfortable setting to say, well, I'm just going to continue what I'm doing for now. But yet this moment in time is really eating at them for some reason or not. If they're more introverted, they while they enjoy this setting, it's still eating away at them because they feel like they're not fulfilled. And you and I talked about this the other day was, purpose is not a luxury, right? So whether your career is focused with, nonprofits, that gives you more of that purpose because you feel like you're fulfilling something in yourself. My role at Columbia Sportswear Co is really developing people and developing high-performing teams. So while that gives me purpose, it doesn't fulfill everything. Now, who are those people that may not have the same type of roles that we have where we're giving back? This could be the service industry. This could be faculty workers. How are you finding your purpose right now? So you're inspired when we get through this, because there's going to still be a lot of negativity going on, and you need to get your mindset in the right place for you to be ready in 15, 20, 30, days from now, and even months. So you can find those intentional moments to look back on and say, like, yeah, they were hard and it's going to get harder too, but I'm ready for those. I'm willing to embrace that.
Ah, I love it. It's so awesome talking to you. You make me so happy every time because it's just you give of your spirit every time and you fill my cup up. And this filled everybody's up as well. I know that we're a little bit past our time, but if anybody has any comments, please feel free to leave them below now. And I just got to give a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
for being open and honest and being humble and just being you. And I'm excited for everybody to get to meet you and see your heart through this situation and this timing.
Yeah. And if I can just share one thing with everyone, be human and remember to laugh. We need that right now.
Yes, I agree. 100%. Thank you all for all joining with us today. And we will be here next Monday. So see us then. We are going to have one of coaches of Worksby, John, will be on talking with us. And I'm excited for y'all to get to meet him as well. So until then, see y'all.
Thanks, everyone.